Today, we're going to be talking about your 20s versus your youth. I know a lot of people out there who are struggling right now in their 20s with their career, their love life, even friendships. Just everything is so hard in your 20s because you're basically an adult now and you've been pushed out in the world. And the world is a little bit a scary place. There's a lot of unknowns. Nothing is guaranteed. I thought I would have an amazing career straight out of school because I went to UofT. Not completely true. And it's just hard. Your friends are far away and you're just trying to figure out life, honestly. Your 20s are nothing like the movies make it. I'll share my story because I think it's important for people to understand that you're not alone out there. So if you're going through something similar, comment down below. I need to talk about something that no one really talks about. In my 20s, I truly thought that I peaked in high school because I was like, I'm going nowhere. Internship after internship. I was at one point working as a receptionist at a dental office, nothing to do with my degree, and I was feeling like a failure. For me, in high school, everything made sense. I had a rubric to follow. This is how I get exceeding. This is how you get an A. It was straightforward, and I excelled at that, especially because the teachers at my school were so passionate about what they taught. It just lit a fire in me. And honestly, I loved learning subjects that we learned, zoology, psychology, and so many interesting classes were available to me. So yeah, everything was clear. I had a schedule. I would be in this class. I would have lunch. I would have my break. Like everything was laid out so clearly. And yeah, at the time, did I think it was hard? Yes, because I was always disappointed if I didn't get 100% or more. And now I'm looking back and thinking that's really silly, especially in my senior year. I was just so stressed out. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to do it all? Obviously, my home life wasn't great. So I think that was another form of escapism, like focusing on school. I'll tell you a bit more about my degree from U of T. I graduated in 2019 with a Bachelor's of Science in Physical and Environmental Geography and Environmental Studies. Physical and Environmental Geography is the science. That's what I majored in. Includes hydrology, soil science, and I tied it in with environmental studies, more of humanities, and I enjoyed those classes. I was in life sciences first to become a doctor. That's not what I wanted. That's what my family wanted, and I hated it. I dropped my classes, and I was like, I'm switching because these teachers have no passion. Like, we're teaching 2,000 students. I remember my biology class, I was sitting, it just felt like it was a number, and they didn't really care about me, nor could they see me. It was boring and tedious, just literally looking at slides of teacher reading out of the book. Not fun. But yeah, I thought because I went to, I'm just going to have an amazing career straight from school. And boy, was I wrong. Honestly, I think my 20s were hard for different reasons versus my youth. Obviously, my family life was pretty crappy during my youth. Living with my dad was very hard for me emotionally. My 20s, even though I was removed from all of that, I still believed a lot of the things he said to me were instilled in me. I believed that I was dumb. I think that reflected in my career. I think you hold your own career and life in your own hand. You should never continue to blame your parents because you can get out of it. It takes time to heal from that, years of therapy, and realizing that you are in control of your life after you leave your home. It took me how to adjust to that. I'm going to break down why your youth and your 20s are so different. This is based off of actual research, but also my personal story. There could be things you relate to, could be things that you don't, but here we go. There's studies that show young adults experience a quarter life crisis, and it's very normal. At the time, you don't think it's normal. You're thinking, what's wrong with me? I was doing so well, and I can't even find a job. Society paints this picture. We're going to have this amazing career, and if you don't, you're a failure. You are obsolete and not contributing to society, and all these pressures support capitalism, but not humanity itself. It's silly. It's really silly. Especially when you go on social media, you're comparing yourself to everyone. You're looking through how many people are going on vacation, how many people graduated, how many people got an amazing job on LinkedIn. And you're like, what the heck is wrong with me? Social media can be very dangerous, especially during this time, because you're just so vulnerable. You already feel pretty shit. Your self-esteem is in the ground. You're comparing yourself to everyone else, and that is not helpful at all. So I would suggest really getting off of it And if you can't get off of it, change your algorithm, make it more positive, fill it with positive messages. Like now when I go on TikTok, it's a lot of motivational speeches where uplifting words and nature and lots of babies, things that are less likely to drain me. I think in your 20s, you just have to stop pretending like everyone has it figured out because they don't. So if you're someone like me who really thrived in school, I didn't thrive my whole school career, just in high school specifically, because teachers were so amazing and the opportunities were great. It was just so structured, right? And I feel like the teachers, because it's smaller classes, they just want you to succeed. This really spoke to teachers at the Science and Math Institute, which is school I went to. They were super passionate about what they taught. It changed my life because I hated math beforehand. I think I actually got a D in pre-algebra or something in middle school. Maybe it was geometry. And when I went to high school, it just changed. I became a lot more interested. Structure was everything for me. Monday through Friday, you knew exactly where you were supposed to be, what you're going to do, and how you're going to do it. Was a test or you're doing a project. Just knew. When you enter the job market, there is really no rubric. There's the job posting, but you aren't really taught on how to make your resume stick out. And you aren't really taught about how to find a job, like completely different skill. 52% of graduates with bachelor degrees actually end up doing something completely opposite or non-related to their degree. And honestly, sometimes the job even includes one that doesn't need a degree at all. So be working at Tim Hortons or retail while you're trying to find your career or dream job. And that's completely normal. Even 10 years after graduation, 45% still can't find a job related to their degree. Months after, I was doing paid internships, and I was just like, what am I doing? So I just felt really bad. At that time, I really wanted to go into the waste industry and figure out how to make the city more zero waste, but there wasn't more options for me. There was either the internships, which I was doing, which was related, and I worked with the city, and I thought it was a great opportunity. I was like, why are we doing paid internships instead of working full-time? Everyone went full-time job to get benefits and obviously paid salary, and that's what everyone expects you to do after school. With jobs in your career, no one really tells you unless you have a mentor, which I definitely recommend. They don't tell you what to do. They don't tell you who should apply for this. There's none of that unless you know someone. Yeah. I really thought I was going to be like an intern forever. And so after my internships, I was like, hey, I need a full-time job. So I went back to being a receptionist. I landed a full-time gig, which is great, but I was really depressed and it was not for me at all. I do not like being restricted to rules. When you work in communication, you have certain color schemes you have to follow, words you have to use, and templates, and that's not fun for me. I'm someone who likes to experiment with things, try new things, and talk about what I really want to talk about, which is why my blog did well. But it did not translate to corporate communications. At one point, I was driving a truck around delivering letters to people who left cabbages on the curb, and I was like, what am I doing? I think something that made it harder was seeing the disappointment in my family's eyes, especially when I wasn't doing well in university, especially in the beginning. I dropped my classes, I dropped chemistry because I was really bad at it and I didn't care for it. And then my dad would say, why do I hate going into this field? Like, you want to become an environmental engineer, which I understand because that's the only thing he understands. But I would have been a terrible engineer. My mind is not logical like that or meticulous in that sort of sense. It's hard going from being the star child of straight A's to being like the failure. And yeah, there was always this voice in my head saying, maybe your dad was right, maybe you're stupid, and that you can't do anything. And so I started to believe those things. I went to therapy because every day I would be just so depressed because I didn't know what I was doing. I was working a receptionist job at a dental office. If you worked at dental offices before, you know that they're really toxic. I've only worked at dental offices. There's just always some kind of weird drama going on and toxicity. Family pressure is definitely a huge stressor, especially if you're Asian. You can relate to this. Your family expects a lot from you, especially after investing so much in you. It feels pretty bad when you let them down. At this point, you're not only dealing with your own expectations, you're also dealing with your family's expectations, comparing your life to other people on social media who have full-time jobs, and he's wondering what the heck you're doing with your own life. There was one point where I thought about going back to school, teacher. I wasn't really finding any jobs that I wanted. A lot of people look down on teaching because it's like the fallback career. Oh, if you can't do, you teach, which I think is stupid. Like, we need passionate teachers out there. Being a student myself, it was so important for me to have someone who was passionate about what they were teaching because that instilled passion in me. I was like, okay, maybe I'll do that. But honestly, I was also very hesitant about that because I know that me disciplining children is not my strength. Yeah, speaking of large groups really scared me. So I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I never went back to school for that. And that's fine. I use my blog to teach a lot of different things, especially about environmental justice. And I think that was enough for me. The one very lucky thing I had was John at the time. I was in my 20s. We were dating for 2 years. John was doing super well. I was very surprised because John did not do well in school. He would always just make sure he just skated by. That once it came to his career, he was dead set and was honestly really admirable and also made me a bit insecure. Another huge thing that helped him was that he had co-op opportunities. He went to Sheridan College and they had a great co-op program. He was doing co-ops at big companies and getting so much experience through that. Studies even show that 90% or more students who do co-op actually graduate with a full-time job within 6 months of graduating. Half receive job offers from the companies that they intern. And yeah, while John was doing his co-ops, he was getting paid real money. So he would go on dates and John was paid. He's really good at saving. So one of the main reasons why we were able to buy this house, John even bought a condo, moved out of his family's place and invested that money. When we sold that, we were able to buy a house. That was a huge win for us. Meanwhile, I'm over here graduating from UofT, which is supposed to be one of the most prestigious schools in Canada. All I had was student debt and theory behind it. I think another thing that was smart was that IT was really in demand. You have to know what you're going to do if you're going to go back to school. I don't regret going to UofT. I feel like I learned a lot, especially in the environmental justice area. That's what sparked my blog. I don't have regrets about that. I feel like community colleges and colleges in general are just still looked down upon versus universities, and I don't really understand why because they have to have co-ops and seems like they're more geared towards actually getting a job versus universities. I don't understand why people look down upon that. Silly. John is very brilliant. He continued to climb the ladder and would hop from job to job because the only way to really increase your salary by a significant amount is to job hop. He stayed at the same job getting 5% or more every year, which is not much. So he would find better paying jobs with better benefits until he landed a job with the city. From there, he would keep going until he landed a job with the region. Yeah, now he's been there ever since and paid off really well. He has pension benefits and a great salary. I think John played it safe too because he's always had a dream of becoming an actor, but he never pursued. They give us a lot of financial stability. I think it just goes to show that it doesn't really matter how well you did in school. It doesn't reflect how well you're going to do after school. I guess it depends on what you want to do. If you want to become a doctor, obviously you have to have good grades. But here, I just don't think it's the end all be all. Another huge issue for me or problem that I had in my 20s was I basically lost all my friends. Like all my friends were back in Washington State and I was in Ontario on the East Coast. And I just lost my support system. They were my emotional support, and now they were gone. And I really just felt like I couldn't talk to anyone because when I went to UofT, I would just go straight home. That time I was living really far up north. It would take me like an hour and a half just to get home. So I didn't want to join like anything extra. But yeah, I felt stuck and alone. That can be very dangerous. On paper, it seemed like I would do very well, but it just didn't turn out that way. It took me a while finally land a full-time job and I've been at for 3 years in the industry that I wanted. Takes time. Your 20s is really what you make it. You define your own version of success. You have to be internally motivated because no one cares if you don't show up to class anymore. They don't care if you don't show up to your job. You'll just get fired. It's very unpredictable. You don't know what the job market's going to be like. There could be economy crashes. The housing market could be an issue. So many factors that you just don't have control over. And honestly, you could really be on your own if you don't maintain friendships or make new ones. You could feel isolated. And then once you do find that full-time job, you're stuck on that unless you take the risk and pivot. I think personally, I'm very proud of John. He had a clear plan of what he was going to do, and he did it. Meanwhile, a lot of other people are still struggling trying to create a career, and it's just a lot of uncertainty and self-esteem and disappointment after disappointment. So it can be really taxing mentally. I would recommend co-op. If you're about to go to school, choose a school with co-op because it definitely gives you an edge. I think school game and the real life career game is completely different. So It's not your fault if you fail at one or both. Here are two things I wish someone would just told me in my 20s. School does not guarantee you're going to have an amazing career, and that's okay. You shouldn't be questioning your self-worth, really be questioning the system and how you're going about things. It's time to build new skills and find new connections because that's how you land a real job. And two, different education programs will prepare you differently. You are at a much higher advantage if you have a co-op or internships in your program versus someone who doesn't. Underemployment is completely normal. 45% of graduates don't have a job straight out of college or university, and that's okay. And your first job doesn't define your career. My very first job out of university was literally picking up waste and sorting it. This thing will destroy you if you let it. You gotta turn off social media and you gotta do it. Gotta block people. Just gotta really put yourself first and stop comparing yourself to other people because they're not living your life and it's not gonna help you. Creative freedom really matters, especially to someone like me. Not everyone thrives in a corporate environment. And that's okay. So the 9 to 5 is really killing your soul. I feel sometimes you just have to do what you gotta do. Great by, pay bills, and family disappointment is not your disappointment, it's theirs. Based on their expectations of what they thought wouldn't happen for you, and they could also be projecting what they wanted for themselves. Isolation amplifies everything. You just feel so alone, especially if you're staying inside, and it amplifies all your worries. I recommend finding a therapist because your 20s are just difficult. Feeling lost in your 20s, that's normal and everyone's been there. You're not behind, you're right on time in your own journey. Honestly, I think my 30s are going to be much better. And they already are. Not in my 30s yet, but I'm basically on the cusp, so they're already getting better. If you like this video, please hit subscribe and share this with someone who is struggling in their 20s. They need to hear this and feel like they're not alone. And always remember, success looks different for everyone. It's how you define it yourself. Okay, so today's sponsor is Kind Laundry. Just kidding, they're not really a sponsor, but I do have an affiliate code. Kind Laundry use natural ingredients and it actually comes in these sheets. So much more useful than liquid laundry detergent because that stuff gets messy. With Kind Laundry, you can bring this anywhere. It's literally in a box, pack in your suitcase. It's that easy. You can get 10% off by using code ZeroWasteCute.